Okay, hello Freedomizers, this is Nickie here, enjoying my awesome Monday afternoon. It's beautiful here, hope it's beautiful where you are. Sorry for the delay on getting on here. I was actually trying to get connected through Skype, and I guess it doesn't like me on Skype. So I still got to figure that out. I'm still trying to learn all the systems and everything else, so give me a little time. I think I just need to come on here one day when I actually have free time, but who has free time anymore? Let's see. Just real quick, I've been doing so much research lately. I just stumbled across some information, and I've been up late the last few nights just lost in research, which I haven't done in a really long time. And the information that keeps coming, it keeps coming faster and faster. It's been real interesting. And until I'm able to check out a lot of stuff, I don't want to go into it too much. I prefer to be able to make sure that the information's a little bit accurate. But I read like 9 chapters like this morning on this one book, and so far I haven't been able to find any issues yet. So before I get into all that and maybe some connections, which to me brings hope that maybe man can get over a lot of this and we can actually stand together, and maybe all this negativity that seems to be coming to a boiling point and wanting to totally boil over and take everything out right now is, I have hope that maybe we can get over this. It's just going to be a matter of trying to get out enough information and make sure people don't get totally lost. So
things will get better. Let's say, let's just look at the last 40 or 50 years since the 60s with the hippies. I'm sure a lot of hippies and a lot of nice people, a lot of awake, spiritual people, going to see their gurus in India, or, you know, taking LSD, or just reading about beautiful humanity, have been spreading good vibes. They have been spreading good vibes. What we had since, we've had the Vietnam War, we've had the Falklands War, we've had many other proxy wars, we've had the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, we've had the British and American invasion of Afghanistan. We've had the Israelis, the Zionist Israelis, because I don't relate all Israelis to being bad people, because there are vast amounts of resistance cells, people who are refusing to join the Israeli Defense Force, and they are heroes. It doesn't matter whether you have a foreskin or not. What's important is what's in your heart. Your foreskin is an illusion. It doesn't matter where in the world you are. You can always fight this. Join the revolution.
Alright guys, so that's part 1 of that. I'm not really going to go over the second one. I just really wanted to share that. Seriously, because a lot of information keeps coming out, and I know from my point of view, I keep seeing more of archaeological information. Well, it's been here. The fact is that nobody has really paid much attention to what's been out there, or as people say, they don't exactly know the question, so unless you know the question, you're never going to find an answer. That's the thing. The information's always there. The questions, the answer's not the hard part. The question is, and lately those seem to be coming pretty quickly, and things are moving fast. And it all gets kind of scary lately. I'm a little overwhelmed right now because I've come across a lot of information that I never really thought I'd come across, and I never really thought I would ever actually be looking at it as seriously as I am. It's really hard to explain until I get to that point. But let me do this. We are all people. We are humans, and we are all connected. And it doesn't matter what your core belief is. It doesn't matter what religion or no religion, what you believe in your heart. None of that matters, okay? The only thing that matters is that everyone here on this earth, we're all connected. And anybody that's on the other side, you know, like the other side of the ocean that we think is our big enemy or we're watching out for, they are doing the exact same thing that you're doing. When you're talking to your family, sitting in your living room, having a good time, cooking out, do you really think it's much different for them too? Do you really think that everyone is so different, that we're so divided, that this is necessary? It's kind of crazy. This whole control faction, you know, the New World Order, the reptilians, or whatever you want to say is in charge of things, they tend to push this division to us. And I know a lot of people get mad when I say this kind of thing. There's 2 major ways that they push this division. One of them of course, is through falsified science notions such as evolution, which is something that I've had to come into grips with lately as well. There's not a lot of honest, serious, scientific proof that can be retested and done again that show any true evidence of man ever evolving. Now, I'm not a religious person, but from what I've been able to find, as when it comes to such things as the Bible, Old, New Testament, anything of that nature, we need to pay a lot more attention to it than I think we ever have. And not just the Bible, the old stories, because they are accounts of history. We also need to look at others and the old other mythologies. Anything else? We used to think like the story of what was it? Odysseus. I'm trying to think. I'm sorry. Ulysses, and Greek mythology was poems, stories told, right? Until they found Troy, and then they found, according to some of the documents, they found like exactly cups and things that were described that could be found exactly where they were said in the poems, and yet we still consider this to be stories and mythology. And I think we need to really look at it a little bit closer, pay close attention to what's going on. Things that I found so far that really scare the hell out of me, no joke, is that they're finding at least 25 so far places around the world to where they're finding evidence of, how do you put this, nuclear war, and this happened after the flood, which the flood is consistent in almost every past civilization where you find records. They all have records that go back to the flood story, and they all have records that stem from a large central point such as the Tower of Babel that separate the people. All the stories talk about this. But now we're seeing that there was, after the flood, of course, a huge civilization had advanced a lot further than we give them credit for. And they reached a point to there was a huge global civilization. And they basically, from what I've been able to understand so far, is they actually had like a world government. And that world government had a, I guess like it could be like the center or maybe information center or distribution, and that would have been Babel. But at one point, they basically destroyed themselves. Seriously. There's evidence now. And you know how they find evidence? You know what proves or shows that this was the case? And we didn't even know this until, 45, when we first had those tests out in the desert here, in the U.S. And when they went back to check the site after the nuclear explosion took place, do you know what they found? They found that the sand had been heated to a certain point, so hot, so intense, that it turned the sand into a green glass. All right. Well, now that they've been doing a lot more digs around the world and everything else, and we've been able to get to places we haven't been able to get to before due to maybe a break in violence or anything else that comes about. But we're finding this everywhere. They're finding evidence of this, and no one wants to speak of it, because what happens when you speak about it? You're pretty much, your career's over, everything else. But the problem is that there's more and more evidence that shows this is the case. They're finding the initial cave paintings from directly after the flood are pretty much on level with our artwork and technology now, but it slowly got worse or degraded past that point. Like they lost access to the technology and the information that they once had. And then, of course, when society built up again, and they slowly, that's how they mapped the world and how they found maps of like Antarctica with no ice, which had 3 islands. And now that they've been able to do the seismographic kind of information and also from satellite data with topography and such, they found this to be accurate and so true. And not only that, it shows, these maps also have information that show like tributaries and rivers that are just now being seen, that they had, that are more detailed than anything we have currently. And in fact, I even found out that they're using some of those old maps, there's like 4 or 5 of them in particular, they're using those to correct our maps. They were using longitude and latitude beyond skill that anybody from our concept had the technology at that point in time. See, we're taught that we came from savages, that we evolved, and this is what they teach you in school. or you go to church and they pretty much tell you that God put you here. And the problem is their version of God. Religions tend to give you this idea that everything has a physical representation afterwards, and we're so misconceived. And I think we need to give a lot more credit to ourselves. We're an amazing species, and what I've been able to find more than anything else coming across this information that I found is that we are an awesome being in this world, no matter what you truly believe, what your religion, anything else, none of that matters, that this world was made for us, and the only reason why any of this is here is because we want to experience it. That's it. And I think we need to realize this before what happened in the past happens again. And there's been many libraries that have been destroyed that used to have old documents that would show this kind of information. We know the library at Alexandria was destroyed by, who destroyed that one? Alexander the Great, right? We've got Carthage was destroyed. They even had some in Asia that were destroyed. We're now finding all these pyramids. Do you know there's actually pyramids here in the U.S.? There's some in Florida and some in Illinois. There are a total of 9 here in the U.S. that now they're finding that they're perfectly square and level even on top, that match the same dimensions as other places all around the world, and it's perfectly square on top. Nobody can really do that even today. It's amazing. And yet we're told that during that time we were nothing but savages dragging our knuckles and such, right? And so there's no way that technically we're taught that we didn't have the technology to do this. So things are moving on. And now I have to get the rest of that a lot later because I'm still, like I said, a lot of the information I want to double check what I found more than anything, and I haven't had the time to do it for everything. I've done a lot so far, but it's kind of, as you can see, I'm a little lost in it right now. I'm kind of a little bit confused, and this is never where I expected things to go. And but I still have faith that we can overcome this. And so I've heard different factions lately. Mainly I've heard people say that the news is doing all this, look at all the bad economy going down, look at our government falling apart, and then they don't want you to see what's happening above us in the heavens, right? And then I hear other people saying all this alien BS is keeping us distracted from what's really happening with the destruction of the government and the failing monetary system. So, you know, it's like what? The same double sides of the same coin, you know. The news hides stuff, secret societies hide things. The thing is the information's out there. This is what I keep finding. You just have to know the question. You just have to know what to ask to find it, and that's where that comes tricky. And that's why our past, I think, is so important. But we want to give faith in in something else that can take care of us instead of maybe saying that we did this. And none of this has to do, it doesn't matter where you realize that we came from, but so much that we're here, this world is ours, and we need to realize that we are so connected to each other, and we have so much more abilities than what we're able to do now because we're dumbed down, we're put in front of TVs, we're given all these GMOs and things that alter our bodies and our DNA and prevent abilities that we naturally have, that we could have done so much more than what we have now. And when we're coming across all this information showing that technology existed that was so much higher than what we have currently, but it was used by generations that existed prior to the deluge, and we want to think that we're advanced, it's crazy. But anyways, I'm going to have to take a quick commercial, and then I want to talk real quick about the whole Galactic Federation of Light, or the Disclosure Project, or the National Press Club, and I have a little bit of information for all that for y'all. We all know what's right in our hearts. Trust yourself. You know what's right. We all do. We feel it. And just realize that we can make a difference, and don't listen to them. None of this is real, okay? And when someone comes to tell you that they can help you ascend or